Well, good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Love Not Fear. I'm Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear, and I'm joined tonight, as usual, by my gorgeous co-host, Annie Day, who's written two scrumptious books.
Orgasmic Health and Your Guide to Feeling Fabulous Fast.
And we all need to feel fabulous fast.
We so do.
Right, so what's the subject for tonight?
The divine
Lilith
feminine, how she's been relegated, and all the horrible things that have happened to make women not feel good about themselves.
So Lilith and Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
And how the three Abrahamic religions have degraded the divine feminine.
Yeah, and also Muslimism. I've put a bit about that at the end of my spiel as well.
Yeah, well, that is one of the three Abrahamic religions.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the three Abrahamic religions are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They all claim that they go back to a single source, the story of Abraham. From here, the stories build and characters are created and evolve. And while they separate over the years, there are many similarities.
Yeah.
They have one common figure, Abraham, the father of the faith. Abraham had 7 sons, and the first 2 were called Isaac and Ishmael.
Yep.
Isaac ended up leading the Jews, and Ishmael ended up leading the Arabs.
Right.
Although Islam wasn't invented until the 7th century, the Common Era, making it the youngest of the 3 religions, Muslims claim a direct descendants from Ishmael. However, before Islam, the Arabs followed a very different religion, Arab polytheism, which was based on the belief in deities and other supernatural beings, such as the jinn and various gods and goddesses.
Yeah.
They were worshipped at local shrines, such as the Kaaba in Mecca.
Yeah.
It's interesting to note. I like things that are interesting to note.
And me. Piques our curiosity, doesn't it?
That in Judaism, Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac.
Yeah.
But in Islam, it was Ishmael who had the narrow escape.
Ah.
The story of Moses is told in both the Quran and the Torah.
Yeah.
And later made its way into the Christian Bible. Moses was a prophet in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The Star of David has been the symbol of Judaism and the Jewish faith since around 1300 BCE. Christianity split away from Judaism sometime after the death of Jesus. At first, their symbol was a fish, and later they changed it to a cross. The crescent moon with a star has been the symbol of Islam since its inception in 622 CE.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are all monolithic religions, meaning they believe in one God.
Yeah.
But the name of God differs depending on the religion. And the character of God differs depending on the religion.
Yeah, yeah.
But none of them are the loving source that you and I
believe in. So sad, Jack, isn't it?
Rather, they worship some Anunnaki demigod.
Yeah.
Proof of this lies in the fact that the 10 Commandments given to Moses, they are instructed, "You shall have no other gods before me." it did not say that there were no other gods.
Indeed, that's just saying it needs to be me as top priority.
So basically it's saying you shall follow no other Anunnaki but me.
Yeah.
All these religions started in the Middle East, which is where the Anunnaki had their stronghold.
Absolutely.
And where they genetically engineered the first humans. I know that's controversial, but we've presented plenty of evidence before in this show.
Exactly, Jack. It's not the first time we've mentioned this. Anybody who listens to our shows regularly will have heard about this already, won't they?
So they were hybrids between themselves and Homo erectus. We all know the story of Adam and Eve. Would you Adam and Eve it?
Oh, Jack, that was the first, one of the biggest wounds to the divine feminine, that we should be told that it was our beautiful divine feminine energy that brought us crashing out the Garden of Eden. And I think it's wounded so many of us because we felt, you know, that the again, I was brought up as a Catholic, which wasn't particularly helpful. And it's that, you know, the fact that you're born with that sin already on your soul is just the most horrible thing to be told, isn't it? And that Black Eve, you know, poor Adam was such an innocent little monkey, and he, you know, he just got subverted from his true divine connection by Black Eve. No, I'm not buying it, Jack. I did buy it for many years, and I felt deeply wounded by it, but not anymore.
I mean, the whole concept of original sin
is horrible.
Is fear porn.
Isn't it?
You know, control people with fear.
Yeah.
So,
you can be baptized, and they'll use chrism to shut your third eye.
So, how many people know that Adam's first wife was called Lilith?
Not many, I would imagine, Jack.
According to Abrahamic religions, God, or the Anunnaki gods, created Adam, man, first.
Yeah.
They formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life.
Yay!
And the man became a living being. But for Adam, no suitable helper could be found. So the God causes Adam to fall into a deep sleep, you know, anesthetic, we would have called it now.
Or drunkenness.
drunkenness and debauchery, yeah. While he was sleeping, one of his ribs was removed, which was cultured, and a new being arose from it. And Adam said, "This is now a bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." But isn't it weird and rather illogical that of all the other beings on earth, both male and female, only Adam was created alone?
And I don't think that the divine creator would be doing anything of the sort. He would have created men and women, wouldn't they? Come on.
Or could his first companion have left him?
Possibly.
Enter Lilith.
Yes.
Who has undergone a myriad of interpretations and adaptations, making her one of the most enigmatic and intriguing figures in folklore.
And massively demonized, like Mary Magdalene, Jack.
Massively demonized.
Terrible.
Demonized. Massively,
you know,
massively, massively.
Yeah, massively demonized, that she was this evil spirit leading men astray. Come on now.
In Jewish folklore, it is believed that Lilith was Adam's initial spouse.
Yeah.
The Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, does not mention her at all. All reference to her has been removed.
Yeah.
Lilith is often portrayed as some kind of demon or spirit who preys on children and women in childbirth and men who venture out alone at night.
Well, good luck with that.
I hope to venture out at night. I haven't met her yet, but there you go.
Let's all venture out at night so Liz can get us.
Still hoping.
Come on, get a move on, Lily.
She is associated with desire, independence, and rebellion against male authority.
Absolutely. I like the sound of her completely.
But is there more to her story?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
What was the origin of the myth and how has it evolved over time? The myth has its roots in ancient Mesopotamian and Babylonian cultures, where she was believed to be a demon or spirit associated with storms and the wind. In Sumerian mythology, she was linked to a type of demon that preyed on babies and pregnant women.
Again, why would you, what a horrible, horrible story to tell about a woman that would do that. And again, demonizing her.
Absolutely.
Ludicrous.
Absolutely. But in Babylonian mythology, Lilith is associated with the goddess Ishtar and is believed to have been one of her handmaidens.
Yeah.
She is also associated with the idea of sexual desire and fertility.
Well, good girl. Well done.
Absolutely.
There'd be no species. None of us would be here without desire. None of us would be here yet. So.
No, definitely time for a straight pride march.
Mate, I can't wait. I think we should have 3 months to make up for all the bullshit that we've had to endure from the gay pride that went on for not only a month, but then it's leaked into September as well. Yeah, so we do need a straight pride or straight kink pride.
However, the most well-known version of the Lilith story can be found in the Jewish tradition.
Yeah.
While it is mentioned 4 times in the Babylonian Talmud, it wasn't until the alphabet of Ben Sira, probably around about the 10th century, that she became associated with the creation story. So the alphabet of Ben Sira is basically a collection of proverbs attributed to the famous sage and writer of the book of Sirach.
Yay!
Ecclesiasticus. I managed to pronounce it.
Well done, Jack.
You know what I'm like with
pronunciation.
You know what I'm like with pronunciation. That was more luck than judgment. Anyway, the alphabet describes Lilith as Adam's first wife and provides a comprehensive account of her story.
Yeah.
According to this story, Lilith was created by God from earth's dust, just as Adam was.
Yeah. Clay woman, clay man.
And she believes that both of them should be treated equally.
Good girl.
And she was supposed to live in the Garden of Eden with Adam as his equal.
Oh, yeah, those 3 religions who ain't going to like that, were they? An equal.
Were they?
The divine feminine. Ooh.
But she was a strong and independent woman.
I like her. I like her a lot.
I do like strong and independent women.
And absolutely bloody right.
She thought for herself.
Yeah.
And insisted that she was Adam's equal, since she was created in the same way he was.
Spot on.
But after an argument, she flew away into the air and fled to the Red Sea, pissed off, where she coupled with demons whatever demons were supposed to be.
Was that just somebody that treated her with love and respect, maybe? Because Adam was doing absolutely nothing like that.
Probably. And she gave birth to hundreds of little demons. So it's actually what these so-called demons were, we're not told.
Yes, indeed.
Then Adam said to God, "The woman you gave me has run away.
And I need another one. Can you divorce me?" Oh, where have we heard that before? Oh,
it didn't say he drove her away, but anyway.
But it sounds that way, doesn't it?
3 angels were then sent to bring her back. So if she agrees to come back, that's fine. If not, she must permit 100 of her children to die every day. Now,
I mean, what a barbaric,
what a barbaric,
evil concept.
We are most certainly not talking about the loving source God that we believe in, Annie.
No, not at all, sweetie. Not at all. No.
But rather some deranged Anunnaki scientist.
Yeah.
Who was pissed off that he was not getting his own way.
That's exactly my take on it as well, sweetie.
So the angels left God, or the deranged Anunnaki scientist, and pursued Lilith. They told her what God had said, but she did not wish to return. She'd had enough.
Good girl. When she left.
So the angel said, "We should drown you in the sea." Yeah, very loving, isn't it? Yeah. But she said, "I was created only to cause sickness to infants. If the infant is male, I have domination over him for 8 days after his birth, and if female, for 20 days.
There's the slight disparity there, isn't there, Jack, for some weird and wonderful reason.
So when the angels heard this, they insisted that she goes back. But she offered them a compromise. "Whenever I see you, or your name, or your forms in an amulet, I will have no power over that infant." Very good stories. She also agreed, it's most unlikely that any woman would, but she also agreed to have 100 of her children die every day.
I know. When I was reading that, Jack, it really disturbed me deeply. It's
a very sick mind that's thought
it is. And I've read this story
mind.
some time ago, but rereading it, I was just, this was absolutely demonizing the divine feminine. Yeah, that one woman would do that to babies. They don't know anything about maternal instinct, and they don't know anything about how women feel about children as well. That's completely erroneous, isn't it?
Absolutely ridiculous, horrible, evil.
Really is, darling.
So to this day, Jews believe that when Lilith sees their names in an amulet, she remembers her oath and the child recovers. So, being left alone with no mate, Adam no mates, called upon God to create another companion for him, which resulted in the creation of Eve from Adam's rib. According to some versions of that story, Lilith was jealous of Adam and Eve because they lived in peace and happiness in the Garden of Eden. So she plotted to take revenge. She transformed herself into a serpent.
How did I guess that was coming?
And returned to the garden. Pretty obvious, isn't it? Where she convinced Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, which resulted in Adam and Eve having to leave the paradise.
Yeah, all them naughty girls, Eve and Lilith, plotting against poor little men. Oh, bless them.
Anyway, we can find similar stories about Lilith in other cultures and
Oh,
religions.
absolutely, darling.
Lilith is believed to be the mother of the jinn or genie in Islamic culture. These invisible spirits are mentioned in the Quran and believed by Muslims to inhabit the earth and influence mankind, appearing in the form of humans or animals. They can be either helpful or destructive.
Yeah.
Some images portray Lilith standing on the back of two lions, which she seems to control with her will. Throughout history, she has been depicted in many works of art, especially in Babylon, where she was said to have originated. She is often portrayed with the upper body of a woman and the tail of a serpent. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Lilith was rediscovered by feminist writers and scholars who saw her as a symbol of feminine empowerment and rebellion.
And independence as well. That's what she's for, isn't she?
Absolutely, yeah. In this context, she came to represent the struggle for women's rights and the rejection of patriarchal authority.
Yeah, yeah. We are in the age of Aquarius now, baby, aren't we?
We most certainly are. You're going to do the song?
Oh, when the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars. That one.
That one, yeah. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. So, as a dark, shadowy figure, Lilith has often been associated with animals like owls, snakes, and other nocturnal creatures.
Yeah.
These creatures are often associated with darkness, mystery, and the unknown, which are all qualities that are attributed to Lilith in many cultures. Owls are seen as symbols of wisdom and knowledge, while
And
snakes are
power
often...
as well, wasn't it?
Sorry?
And power, so it was knowledge, wisdom, and power.
And power, yeah. They're
Yeah.
a power animal, yeah. Well, snakes are often associated with transformation and rebirth.
Indeed. Because shedding their skins gives them a whole new lease of life, doesn't it?
That's it, shedding their skins. We all need to shed our skins from time to time.
We certainly do.
Throw off the old and embrace the new.
Absolutely.
Through these associations, her symbolic significance is enhanced, and she becomes the representation of feminine wisdom, intuition, hidden knowledge, transformation, and rebirth. Similarly, Lilith can represent the power of the feminine and the desire for autonomy and independence, as Annie said earlier. And by linking Lilith with the animals that are free, untrapped, and unbound by human conventions, their symbolic significance is heightened. She becomes a representation of the untamed, wild aspects of the human psyche that are often repressed and denied.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's go back to ancient Sumer and look at her creation myth. They believed in a pantheon of Anunnaki gods, the ones who from the heavens came. We've talked a lot about the Anunnaki on this show.
Yeah, absolutely, darling.
In previous versions of the Sumerian creation myth, the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold and then created humans to help them in that task. The creation of humans happened by genetically engineering the human race using their own DNA. Enki, the god of water and knowledge, and creation, together with his sister Kausar, mixed their own DNA with that of Homo erectus to create a man and a woman in their image. Initially, humans were not allowed to reproduce. That didn't last long, did it?
I think they kind of missed the point, really. If you don't allow women and men to procreate, then you don't have a next species, you don't have the next herd, do you? So they should have thought that out a little bit better.
But Enlil decided to teach humans how to mate. Enlil is Enki's brother.
Yes, I don't think we needed. Well, I think that would be innate wisdom. We all know how sex works.
Well, I was born knowing, but there you go.
Yeah, me
Don't
too.
get much chance to practice these days, but that's another story. I know the theory.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah. Ah, la 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 la. Right.
All you
Initially, there
need
was
is love and sex.
that was all you
La
needed.
la 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 la.
Initially, there was equality between the male and female counterparts. However, Marduk, the son of Enki, rebelled.
Oh, I love a bit of rebellion.
Then Marduk, in order to solidify his power, rewrote history in a way that gave power only to the male. Now, how literally you want to take this is up to you. Perhaps the story was just invented to explain how sexual equality came to an end in ancient Sumer and Babylon.
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. I'm with you on that one.
Perhaps the whole Lilith, Adam, and Eve story was invented by some priest or ruler who thought that sexual equality was a bad thing.
Well, the men would think that, wouldn't they, really? Well, some men, I don't mean all men, but some men would think that.
I hate that concept. I really do.
And most men would, Jack. The divine masculine wants the divine feminine as much as the divine feminine wants the divine masculine. And anything that is going to be divisive is not good for any of us, is it?
Only very weak men need to put women down.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Strong men like strong women.
Yeah.
Or perhaps these three characters really were the first attempts at genetically engineering the human species.
Yeah.
But whether or not Lilith and Adam and Eve were real people, the story has certainly been rewritten.
Yeah.
Perhaps by Marduk, perhaps by a human priest or ruler, to paint Lilith or any rebellious woman in a poor light.
Oh, absolutely.
Great propaganda if you want to socially engineer a male-dominant world.
Yeah, absolutely, darling.
And when Abraham and Sarah moved from Sumeria to Canaan, they took that story with them.
Yeah.
And three religions arose over time, carrying that story on and that set of social values. The Lilith story can be seen as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unequal power dynamics and the importance of mutual respect and balance.
Exactly that, Jack. Exactly that.
And it shows us that we should not believe anything blindly.
Yeah.
Rather than we should question everything.
Yep.
Think critically about all historical accounts.
Unlearn everything you've learned already.
Remembering that history can be manipulated as a weapon of social control.
Oh, for sure. For sure, darling.
We know that throughout history, various groups and individuals have sought to control and manipulate the narrative for their own dubious purposes. And we are seeing that writ large in the world today.
Oh, and for the last 3 years, sweetheart, haven't we?
With the net zero and the COVID scams.
And you, Les, and all that 15-minute cities. Oh, don't.
Yeah, well, that's all linked into the.
I'm going to try.
So, when Christianity split away from Judaism after the death of Jesus and the New Testament was compiled, only 4 strictly chosen Gospels were included.
Yeah.
The Gnostic Gospels, which tell the real teachings of Jesus, were omitted
and hidden deliberately.
And classified as heresy.
And the Book of Enoch and Mary Magdalene's Gospel, hidden away.
Because they didn't fit the agenda.
Exactly that, Jack, isn't it? Exactly that, darling.
So we've heard about the Lilith story. Did something similar happen in the case of Mary Magdalene?
Oh, for sure.
Was she a prostitute?
Was she fucking parasite? Sorry.
As many Christians have claimed over the centuries.
How many sex workers would you imagine could afford frankincense, which, as we know from biblical references, was one of the most expensive oils on the planet, and yet she anointed Jesus's head and his feet? Are you kidding? She was a high priestess. She was his equal. There's no way that a sex worker could afford that. Come on now, pay attention, kids.
she was Jesus's high priestess, but exactly. I shall.
I was sorry. I was jumping the gun, wasn't I? Sorry.
No, there's something now. Right, prostitute. Or was she one of the leaders of the Nazarenes, possibly even Joshua's wife? Joshua, of course, being the real name of Jesus.
Yeah. Wasn't it Yeshua ben Joseph, his real name?
There's lots of different, yeah.
And he certainly didn't have white skin, Jack.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Absolutely not. A lot of people doubt that Jesus or Joshua even existed. Personally, I believe he did.
Yeah, me too.
But that he was a very different character to that portrayed in the New Testament.
Yeah, all the Christ consciousness, I think that's the real Yeshua.
Some historians, such as Ralph Ellis, say that he was a real sword-carrying king of a city-state called Edessa.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about that. But tonight's show isn't about Jesus, it's about Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
After the death of Jesus, I'm going to upset a lot of people here, so buckle your seatbelts, folks. I'm going to cause a lot.
You won't be upsetting me, I guarantee.
I'm going to cause a lot of ruckus here.
I doubt it. You know, anybody who listens to our programs on a weekly basis will be up to speed with all this, Jack, I'm sure.
I want to just say that these are my ideas, and I'm not trying to impose them on anybody else.
No, we never do. We're just two friends having a chat about interesting stuff and giving our own personal viewpoint on it. And
I'm not trying to show disrespect to other people's beliefs. If they're different, then that's fine.
No, we're not evangelizing either. So
this is just what I think.
Yeah. And if people want to, they're quite capable of doing their own research, Jack, can't they?
Absolutely, yeah. So after the death of Jesus, Paul usurped the leadership of the Nazarenes from James. We branded them as Christians and relocated them to Rome. Paul was very much a woman hater.
Oh, big misogynist, wasn't he?
I just want to say a quick plug here. I'm in the process of doing another video because I'm in Glastonbury at the moment. And Annie's coming to see me next week, aren't you?
I am. I'm coming on Monday. Woohoo!
And I've been up on Wheel Hill and I've done a video from there.
Oh, Jack, I'm so envious.
And I've done a video from there about the new sacred thorn tree that's been planted.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And in that video, after I talk about the tree, I talk an awful lot about this particular issue. Yeah. So if you want to find out more about this particular subject of Paul usurping the Nazarenes and rebranding them as Christians, it'll be in that video, which will probably be coming out the day after.
I've had an idea.
Yeah.
a couple of days ago that all I need is oh, that went down the wrong hole. It's like I'd swallowed bones, which clearly wasn't what I was meant to be doing. But all I need to make an essence is a couple of leaves. So I'm thinking about going up. If not on the visit that I'm doing with Andrew, but then I'm going again on the 26th.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm going to go up to Wirral Hill and I'm going to just ask very respectfully if I can have a couple of leaves, and then I'm going to make the sacred thorn essence.
I might recommend actually leaving that for a year if you don't mind. It's a very new cutting that's been put in.
Well, I'll go and have a look, Jack, and ask the tree.
Probably needs to establish itself a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. As I say, I only need 2 leaves. That's all I need.
Anyway, Paul was very much a woman hater.
Yeah, for sure.
You can see it in many of his writings.
Yeah, and I think Peter was a close second, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. Where many of his writings, where women weren't even allowed in the church at the same time as men.
Yeah.
And weren't allowed to question the rules. And they weren't allowed to share their spiritual insights with the men.
No.
I wonder what he was scared of.
I think he was scared of the divine feminine's power and intellect and strength. Because actually we are emotionally stronger than the divine masculine. Whether we like it or whether we don't, that is the case.
Well, I think I'm not sure about that, but anyway. When the first council of Nicaea was convened, the Emperor Constantine, by the Emperor Constantine in 325 CE, where they started compiling the books of the New Testament, they leaned heavily on the misogynist writings of Paul.
Yeah.
Needless to say, Mary didn't get a look in.
Exactly. Why would you omit such, there were 3 Marys, weren't they? Why would you omit all of them? Because then it would be admitting that they were important people, and he couldn't have that, could he? Because they're not male.
Yeah. But whether the omission was intentional or whether the gospel had been lost by that time, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Mary Magdalene must be one of the most mysterious and misunderstood figures in the Bible.
Oh, and the most demonized.
Labeled by the church as a prostitute.
Yeah.
Who walked with Jesus. She is said to have paid for her years of carnal pleasure with decades of isolation and tearful repentance.
I don't bloody think so. She was a high priestess. She wasn't a hooker.
As all fallen women should.
I better get cracking then. I'm in the wrong profession, clearly.
Mary Magdalene was painted as a prostitute.
Yeah.
Precisely to counter the extraordinary strong portrait of her as an early leader and prophet.
Yeah.
Now the true story of Mary Magdalene is beginning to emerge.
Yeah.
And it is more amazing than any legend. In December 1945, farmers looking for fertilizer in a remote field made a startling discovery. Beneath a boulder buried in soft earth, they found an ancient jar filled with papyrus books, nearly 2,000 years old. These are the last Gospels, written by the first generations who actually knew Jesus.
Yeah.
Were these hidden so as not to be destroyed by the Christians, who branded them unorthodox and heretical? I can't even say it. Heretical.
Yeah.
Perhaps they were preserved in this way so they might reveal to future generations, i.e. us, their amazing teachings. Thanks to this discovery, we now know that Mary Magdalene was a leader in the early church.
Absolutely.
And her leadership was based primarily on prophetic authority.
Yeah.
She was a very powerful priestess, high priestess.
Indeed. Absolutely.
The story of how Mary Magdalene became a prophet and leader began around the time of the birth of Jesus, roughly, in the village for which she is named, Magdala.
Yes.
Magdala was located on the Sea of Galilee in the province of Judea. Today, nothing remains of Mary's hometown, but in antiquity, it was a bustling centre for the fish trade.
Yeah. Which I think might be the link of why the Nazarenes used the fish as their symbol.
Absolutely, yeah. And also it was the religion for the age of Pisces.
Yeah, yeah.
Living in this Jewish fishing village, Mary's family very likely had a deep regard for their religious heritage.
Yeah.
Her life would have been marked by the cycle of the Jewish year, the weekly observation of the Sabbath, annual feasts such as the Passover in spring and the Jewish New Year in autumn.
Yeah.
She was probably deeply frustrated by the Roman occupation and yearned for her people to be free.
Yeah.
And Magdala was a hotbed of rebel activity.
I like the sound of that.
I like rebel activity.
Bit of rebellion in a hotbed, blimey.
Rebels. The Jews viewed their overlords with hostility and suspicion. The Romans worshipped different gods, imposed heavy taxes, and brutally punished those who opposed their rule.
Yeah.
They weren't very nice.
Where have we seen this before, Jack Cox?
Go on, where have we seen this before? Any day?
Just the last 3 years, if not previous to that.
Okay.
Get rid of all the truth speakers.
Yeah. It's the same agenda, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, if Rome found its subjects guilty of sedition, the penalty could well be death by crucifixion.
Yeah.
Not a nice way to go. They sometimes executed dozens of Jews at once, leaving their bodies to rot out in the open as an attempt to control the populace by terror.
More fear porn.
Yeah. But Mary and her country folk were fiercely devoted to their way of life. And the brutality of the Roman tyrants did not subdue their spirit.
Yeah.
Jesus offered a way out. It is likely that Mary came from a wealthy family, as you said earlier, and was affluent enough that she did not have to work. She would most certainly have never needed to work as a prostitute.
Oh, absolutely. What a load. Anyway.
However, I should point out that at that time, and still today to a lesser extent, the word prostitute doesn't just mean profession. It can be used just to refer to somebody who's adulterous or loose.
But whichever one they are ascribing, it still didn't put her in a good light.
No, it didn't, no. Now, I don't know, I wasn't there. It's possible.
You're not, Jack.
Well, maybe I was, but I've forgotten. It's a long time ago.
Yes, same here.
It is possible that, like many rich, idle women, she enjoyed the diversions of the flesh, and why not? She probably wasn't a prude.
And some of the accounts that I've read, she was a high priestess of sex magic, so she'd be teaching what would have been the equivalent of tantric sex, basically.
That's I've not read that, but that sounds quite plausible. Some 2,000 years after her death, evidence suggests that this characterization is a case of mistaken identity. It doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that Mary was a prostitute. One reason for her bad reputation may simply be her name. Mary was a very, very common name. And over 50% of the women in that area at that time were named either Mary or Salome.
Yeah.
Early Christians confused Mary Magdalene with the stories of other biblical Marys, and even with women whose names were never recorded at all, at all, at all.
I wonder why that was, Jack. More misogynism.
So, we have Mary of Bethany, the sister of Lazarus and Martha. We have the woman caught in adultery, the Sumerian wife who had 7 husbands, etc., etc., etc.
Ah, but we can't have that, Jack. Where it's all right for men to have countless wives and countless concubines, but the girls can't have more than one. That was
Yeah.
So it's terrible for the women to do that, but it's okay for the men to do it. No, it's not all right.
Well, as a little aside, going back to the story of Abraham.
Yeah.
Apparently when he had Isaac, he didn't have her with Sarah.
No.
Sarah was too old.
Yeah.
And Sarah suggested that Abraham took her handmaiden as his wife and had a child with her.
Okay.
Now, yeah.
So what we would call, I suppose now, a surrogate mother.
Well, no, an actual mother. In later traditions,
what I mean is, it wasn't for her benefit, was it? It was for Sarah's benefit and his benefit.
Well, you can't imagine many modern day women being so altruistic as Sarah was.
No.
She obviously thought the male was far more important than the female.
Sadly so, yeah.
So in later traditions, the individuality of the different Marys get lost. And what emerges is one Mary who has the characteristics of several that appear in the Gospels.
Exactly that, Jack.
The most important biblical tale wrongly associated to Mary Magdalene is in the Gospel of Luke.
Yeah.
Luke reports that Jesus was dining.
Hold on, Jack. There's somebody at the door. Oh, it's not a patient, so I just need to sort this out.
I just carry on. Luke reports that Jesus was dining at the home of Simon the Pharisee. A prostitute blazingly entered the room and fell before Jesus, weeping incontrollably.
Yeah.
Tears were so plentiful that she was able to wash his feet with them. She then dried them with her long, luxurious hair. And Jesus forgave this unnamed woman. For centuries, the church declared that this anonymous woman was Mary Magdalene. Wrong! The legend is powerful, and it seems to fill some kind of need in the Christian psyche.
Yeah. To denigrate the divine feminine again.
But in 1969, the Vatican revised its official position and said that it had been an error to ever say that Mary was the prostitute or that she was the woman from Luke.
But they didn't come up with what biblical, scriptural references that they did that. They just went, okay, we've made a bit of a mistake and we're just going to change it now. Why?
Oops.
We've been doing this for thousands of years. Oops.
Mary Magdalene was probably a prosperous young woman from a fishing village, yet the Bible hints that she was troubled. According to the gospel, young Mary was possessed of 7 demons. 7 demons.
A bit like Lilith, isn't it, really?
Now, in the ancient world, people ascribed physical and emotional afflictions to demonic possession.
Yeah.
when it says that Mary Magdalene had 7 demons cast out from her, it probably means she was healed of some kind of illness such as epilepsy or some kind of mental illness. To describe someone as having an evil spirit, it was just moving swiftly on. I got myself mixed up there. Mary's destiny was about to change with one monumentous encounter. I think it's quite possible that Mary Magdalene met Jesus in the same way that the other disciples did.
Yeah.
That she was by the sea and he came along and met her at the same as he did the other disciples.
Yeah.
The most important moment in the life of Mary Magdalene, I would think, would be her initial encounter with Jesus, because it changed her life.
Yeah. And also it said it for, canonical references that she was the one who first saw the resurrected Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, it did, yeah. I've actually cut the story short at the time of the resurrection.
Yeah, no worries.
Otherwise it would go on too long. So I haven't.
Yeah, no, look, I had to do the same.
It set her free from whatever it was that oppressed her, and it gave her hope.
Yes.
And if, as some have suggested, and I think is quite possible, Jesus was an active rebel, not just a preacher, he may well have given her hope in that department too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Bible does not tell how old Mary was when she met Jesus, but it does say that Jesus cast out demons, healing her in body and spirit. Becoming one of his followers would have been perilous. The Romans were suspicious of any of their subjects who assembled in large public gatherings.
Oh, yes.
They were concerned that the people's anti-Roman sentiment, to put it mildly, might boil to the surface, and public peace could be disrupted. Jesus and his followers were in constant danger of attracting the attention of the foreign oppressors. Yet the very risk in joining may have actually increased the movement's appeal to Mary's independent nature.
Yeah.
So, although the group needed money to feed, clothe, and house dozens of people through the upcoming years of ministry,
yeah,
Jesus, he weren't concerned. Do not be anxious. What shall we eat? What shall we drink? What should we wear? Strive first for the knowledge of God and his righteousness. Then all these things will be given unto you as well. Today, we might say, become one with source and all things will be attracted into your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same message.
It is.
It's basically the law of attraction. That's basically what Jesus...
It is exactly that, isn't it?
So Jesus may unconsciously have attracted Mary into his life because she had money from her family. She and Joanna, the wife of Herod, and Susanna and many others provided for them out of their resources.
Yeah.
Mary and the others supported Jesus. This meant that they were his patrons.
Yeah.
Or patronesses, if you prefer. That is to say that they were in a position of supporting him, but certainly not in any inferior role.
No, not at all.
But rather it placed them in a rather socially superior position.
Indeed.
At first, the group stayed in Galilee, visiting the synagogues and proclaiming that the kingdom of God was at hand. But as Jesus continued to heal the sick and perform other miracles, the crowds grew even larger. When the multitudes grew too numerous for the sanctuaries, Jesus preached in the open air with Mary Magdalene at his side. In the days to follow, Mary Magdalene would take on a stunning and vitally important role in Jesus' life, both public and private. Mary Magdalene left the only home she'd ever known to travel with him, preaching the good news of the kingdom of heaven to the people of Galilee. Mary and the other disciples listened with rapt attention as Jesus taught them. As they came to understand his message, Jesus urged them to spread the word. Jesus sent them out, saying, "Go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and preach as you go, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. You received without paying, so give without pay." This is my whole idea of a free gift economy.
And paying it forward, Jack.
Paying it forward. Don't pay me back, pay it forward.
Yeah, absolutely that.
Which I keep bleating on about on this channel. Mary Magdalene is one of the first to preach the message along with the men.
Yeah.
So Mary Magdalene may well have been a co-prophet with Jesus. She may have been a colleague who could think, we can think about it in terms of a partnership.
Yeah.
Or of a priest and high priest and high priestess relationship.
Exactly. Total equality.
And some who preached alongside him, someone who preached alongside him, someone who learned from him, and also someone from whom he learned. It was an equal relationship. According to the Gospel of Philip, which for some reason never made it into the Bible.
Yeah, they hid all the really, what shall I say, the really most important books, didn't they? Bless them.
Yeah. According to Philip, 3 people walked with Jesus: Mary, his mother, her sister, and Mary Magdalene. And the companion of the Saviour is Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
According to ancient texts, Mary and Jesus developed an especially close bond. Jesus took her aside for private moments and gave her secret teachings that she alone had the capacity to understand.
Yeah. Not Paul and Peter, though, was it, Jack?
No, it weren't, and they got pissed off.
They did. They were very jealous, clearly, weren't they?
So some scholars make the assertion that Jesus' love for Mary was physical as well as spiritual, but I could hardly comment. This claim may be supported by the rediscovered papyrus that we've been talking about, where it says, Jesus loved her more than all the disciples and used to kiss her on her blank. Blank. That part of the
How very odd that that bit should go missing. Come on.
That
mate.
part of the papyrus has a hole in it. No,
I think you could probably work it out that he was kissing her. I think you could.
It doesn't say where he kissed her. Might have been on her bottom for all we know. Was it on her lips or somewhere else?
I suspect so, yeah.
We will probably never know unless another copy of the papyrus is found.
Yeah, possibly.
But it could possibly indicate a sexual relationship. Maybe not.
Why shouldn't it be?
Why shouldn't
there
it
are
be?
There are lots of evidence that she was actually his wife, so I don't think that's a big stretch of the imagination.
There's even reports that they had children together.
Yeah, a daughter called Sarah.
And that after his resuscitation, said I was going to piss people off, they moved to India together.
Yeah. And we know there are stories about them coming to Glastonbury as well, Jack.
I don't know if there are any stories about them both coming to Glastonbury. I know the story about Jesus coming with Joseph and Arimathea when he was a boy.
Well, I think that she was with him. from some of the stuff I've been reading for donkey's years, because she intrigued me.
So, why was she portrayed as a prostitute for so many centuries? What was the agenda?
Misogynistic men that don't like strong, powerful women.
I think there's more to it than that, as I will say presently.
And quite a bit of jealousy as well, that she was the one loved most by Jesus.
And why was Lilith portrayed as an evil and as being
exactly
evil and
spiteful? The same reason. Yeah.
When she only wanted to be free.
Yeah.
And how come some deranged and anarchic scientists wanted to kill all her children, yet she was the bad one?
Yeah.
This suppression of the divine feminine is almost exclusive to the three Abrahamic religions. In nearly all other cultures throughout history, men and women have been regarded as equals.
Yeah.
Often with different roles suited to their different abilities and talents, but both roles having equal status.
And in other cultures, there are lots of mother goddesses.
There certainly are. So I really think this is much more to do with the divine feminine than with men and women. The Abrahamic religions teach that God gave man dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the earth and over the cattle and over the earth and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Yay!
But other religions teach harmony with Mother Earth.
Yeah.
That we are all part of the divine feminine, the divine mother. She is our goddess to be worshipped, nurtured, and respected.
Indeed.
So, to a culture rooted in fear and meanness, rooted in taking rather than giving, such a teaching would never do. Hence, they need to rewrite and amend the sacred scripts to turn the land and, by extension, women into mere possessions.
Yeah.
And the Abrahamic religion, of all the Abrahamic religions, Islam probably takes this to the extreme.
Doesn't it?
Absolutely sick. Right, any day.
One of their worst, what shall I say, rules is that if a woman is raped, she will be stoned for having sex. Why aren't you looking after the woman? Why aren't you stoning the bloody man that did it?
Yeah. By the way, Annie, before you go into doing your bit, turn your light on, please, love. Your big light.
Light's on. Oh, you mean my big light? Okay. Better?
Yeah. We need to do that now. We've got the shorter evenings.
Yeah.
It gets dark before we finish.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what have you got for us, Annie?
So Mary Magdalene was Mary of Magdala, one of the earliest followers of Jesus of Nazareth. According to the Bible, she travelled with him, witnessed his crucifixion, and was one of the first people to learn of his resurrection.
Actually, can I just stop you a second, Annie? Have you got a lot or a little?
I've got...
Have you got as much as I had?
3.5 pages. No, I've got much less than you. 3.5 pages.
We'll do it as one show then. We won't split.
Okay, darling. Okay.
Over
centuries, everyone from early church leaders and scholars to novelists and filmmakers have revised and elaborated on the story of Mary Magdalene. On one hand, they downplayed her importance by claiming she was a prostitute, a ruined woman who repented and was saved by Christ's teachings. But on the other, some early Christian text depicted Mary Magdalene as not just a mere follower, but Jesus's trusted companion, which the word was sometimes translated as wife. All four canonical Gospels of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, noted Mary Magdalene's presence at Jesus' crucifixion, but only the Gospel of Luke discussed her role in Jesus' life and ministry, listing her among some women who had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities. And that was Luke 8:1-3. The women are the ones who go and tell the disciples, Cargill points out. They are the ones that discovered that he had risen, and that is really significant that they admitted it was the women. In the Gospel of John, Jesus actually appears to Mary Magdalene alone after his resurrection and instructs her to tell his disciples of his return. So this was John. While some other Christians sought to downplay Mary's influence, others sought to accentuate it. The Gospel of Mary, a text dating from the 2nd century AD that surfaced in Egypt in 1896, placed Mary Magdalene above Jesus's male disciples in both knowledge and influence. And I think that's what this was about, wasn't it? They really couldn't bear that.
They couldn't bear it, no.
Hey?
They couldn't bear it. It went against the agenda.
Yeah, absolutely, darling. She also featured prominently in the so-called Gnostic Gospels, a group of texts believed to have been written by early Christians as far back as the 2nd century AD, but not discovered until 1945 near the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi, which you've already mentioned.
Yeah, that's the same papyrus I was mentioning. Yeah.
One of these texts, known as the Gospel of Philip, referred to Mary Magdalene as Jesus's companion and claimed that Jesus loved her more than all the other disciples. And again, I've got that bit about the text being damaged, and he used to kiss her on the ooh.
Oh, I love being kissed on the woohoo.
On the woohoo, because we're not allowed to say mouth or lips or kiss or whatever. And then in 2012, the Harvard Divinity School professor Karen King unveiled a previously unknown papyrus fragment that she believed to be a copy of a 2nd century gospel in which Jesus refers to Mary Magdalene as my wife. Michael Haag explains the whole of the Christian mystery starts with that first moment when Mary Magdalene stood alone at the empty tomb. This mystery, with its suggestion of intimacy, is bound up with the very nature of Mary Magdalene's vision, the vision of the kingdom of God that she shared with Yeshua. The question ever since has been how much of that wisdom and vision was distorted or suppressed or lost in the controversies that shaped this new religion. And you've already said that the Christians didn't like the Nazarenes and vice versa.
No, they didn't.
Those struggles saw the church attempt to control the visionary nature of Mary Magdalene's experience by turning her into a prostitute. Nor has it been a historical accident that Mary, the mother of Jesus, who apart from the nativity narratives in Matthew and Luke, plays almost no role in the Gospels and in the life of Jesus, and who was regarded by early skeptics and critics of Christianity as a wanton adulteress, and her son was a bastard. Nice. This was transformed by the church without any gospel evidence into a perpetual virgin and the mother of God, which we know came from Isis in Egypt.
Absolutely, nothing's new.
No, it's just another story, another virgin birth, and this time it's not Isis impregnating herself, it's Mary, the mother of God.
I mean, there's a historic Jesus, and there's all the mythology that's been built up around him.
But yeah, all the hype that isn't anything to do with him. According to other theories, both Jesus and Mary Magdalene were trained in the Egyptian mystery schools. Mary Magdalene was Yeshua's spiritual equal and was a significant part of his dream for love and peace on earth. says David Young, author of The True Story of Jesus and His Wife. So in 1969, the Nag Hammadi Gospel of Mary was rediscovered. The story that resonates with me most, that I've mentioned previously on this program, is the Magdalen manuscripts and the sex magic of Isis. There we go.
Oh, yes. We mentioned that before, haven't
we? This is by Tim Kenyon and Judy Sion. This book describes Mary Magdalene's personal story of her tantric relationship with Yeshua ben Joseph, known today as Jesus Christ. A love so deep it has survived over 2,000 years of lies, deception, and malevolence. Mary Magdalene was a high initiate of the Temple of Isis. Mary Magdalene was the Holy Grail, the chalice or cup that carried the blood of Christ, with their daughter being called Sarah. Lilith. So I'm just going to say the bits that I'm just going to re-emphasize some of the bits about Lilith. The contemporary feminist movement found an inspiration in this image of Lilith as the uncontrollable woman, and decisively changed the image of Lilith from demon to powerful woman, but only in 1972. In 1972, Lily Rivlin published an article on Lilith for the feminist magazine Ms, with the aim of recovering her for contemporary women. The Jewish feminist magazine Lilith, founded in the fall of 1976, took her name because the editors were inspired by Lilith's fight for equality with Adam. Good girl. An article in the introductory issue spelled out Lilith's appeal and rejected the understanding of her as a demon. Since then, interest in Lilith has only grown among Jewish feminists, neo-pagans, and listeners to contemporary music by women, highlighted as the Lilith Fair, poets and other writers. A useful recent book collecting many articles and poems that put Lilith in a much more positive light, with specific focus on her importance to Jewish women, is Who is Lilith? 1998. As Lily Rivlin writes in her afterword, in the late 20th century, self-sufficient women, inspired by the women's movement, have adopted the Lilith myth as their own. They have transformed her into a female symbol of autonomy, sexual choice, and control of one's own destiny. I like her.
Absolutely, yes.
I like her a lot.
I want to meet her on a dark night when I go it alone.
Baby. Come and let your demons out, baby. Black Eve was said to be the reason that mankind was banished from the Garden of Eden, again denigrating and demonizing the divine feminine, rather than being part of the yin-yang principle that the divine masculine and divine feminine are part of the whole, as a fractal of the divine creator.
Yeah.
Muslim women wearing a hijab is said to be, this is what the boys say, this is not what women say in the main, is a way of women expressing resistance, reaffirming their identity as pious Muslims, rejecting Western fashion and fostering a sense of solidarity among themselves. I'm going to call it out for what it is. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Thank you.
Right, so
the men swan round in Muslim countries in their white Arab clothing, which reflects the sun back. Why are the women made to wear black?
Black in a hot country, well, they're going to sweat.
It's so uncomfortable.
You must feel so uncomfortable under all that.
I just can't imagine that that's good for anybody.
No.
Until 1979, Saudi Arabia was the only Muslim majority country that required that women be veiled when going out in public, and that law included both native and foreign women, regardless of their religion. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Today, veiling is legally imposed on women in only 4 countries: Saudi Arabia, Iran, Sudan, and imposed on, and in Aceh, the province of Indonesia. Where did I get to? Today, veiling is legally imposed on women in only these 4 countries. In Iran, the hijab was imposed on women after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, when Ayatollah Khomeini came into power. In most places, it is now a matter of custom, and women choose whether to wear a hijab. Most women decide whether to wear a hijab in their teenage years. But I know from my own personal experience that 8 years ago, I went to Oman and I wasn't allowed to go in any shop or in the shopping mall unless I had a covering that covered my beautiful shoulders and elbows and wrists and ankles and knees. So I'm not very good at being compliant, Jack, which you might have noticed already.
We have noticed that over the years, Annie. Just a little tiny bit.
Tiny weeny bit. So when my son told me I had to cover all these bits of me because, you know, I've been in big trouble, I bought myself a kaftan, and it covered up my beautiful shoulders and elbows and wrists, and it had big angel sleeves on this kaftan. And then it was quite low there because they didn't say I couldn't do that. And it also had big splits up the side as well, because I thought I'm going to stick to the letter of the law so I can't get into trouble. And then the night before I flew out, my lovely son said, "Mom, don't wear ankle bells, because in Oman they consider that to be a sign of a prostitute." And I went, "Oh, interesting." So I wore, every time I went to the shopping mall, I would wear at least 3 ankle bells. If you hadn't told me, I'd have probably not done that. So
did you get any offers?
No, sadly not really. That would have boosted my holiday money, wouldn't it, for sure? So, statements from the classic Sharia law. A Muslim can be tried and punished for not performing his religious duties. That makes so much sense about, you know, the call to prayer, and also why so many people turn up. A woman is counted only as half of a man if she is called as a witness in a trial.
Yeah,
when the
true.
owner of a female, often referred to as a slave, acknowledged her child as her own, the child became free. The mother became free only when her owner died. The most serious crimes in the Sharia included adultery, highway robbery, theft, and drinking alcohol. Islamic criminal courts exercise due process of law. If witnesses were not produced, the defendant could be asked to take an oath before Allah and just say that he was innocent.
Yeah.
But not the same if you're a woman.
To our mind, being brought up in the culture we were brought up in, that just sounds absolutely crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah, but if you're a woman, you don't have the same rights because they don't consider women to be equal to men.
No, they don't, not at all. They don't have the same inheritance rights either, do they?
No, nothing at all, do they? So punishments included death by sword, stoning, mutilation, lashes, retaliation, blood money, reparation, and imprisonment, and it still goes on to this day. Again, that is not who we think is God or the divine creator that's doing all this, telling people to do this horrible stuff. I don't think so. So in my own personal belief, I believe we need to be honouring the divine feminine, as Gaia is the divine feminine. She is our mother, the earth and the seas. And whatever we do to our mother, the primordial goddess, we do to all humanity. That's
What
it.
we do to her, we do to ourselves.
Exactly that, Jack. So, do you want to show you some books?
Yeah, show us some books.
So, the Magdalen Manuscript and the Sex Magic of Isis. And this one I've never shown you before. It's the illustrated Bloodline of the Holy Grail, the hidden lineage of Yeshua revealed. And it's by Laurence Gardner. And it's a massive book.
Oh, that looks interesting, yeah.
So this is saying, I believe that Jesus married and had children. What happened to his family are descendants of Yeshua still alive today. He believes they are.
I
Why
believe
not?
they are, yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Lovely Jack Cox. That's all I've got.
His grave has been found in the Punjab, hasn't it?
Yeah.
His tomb.
Yeah.
Right. I will put the link to all those books down below in the show notes.
Thank you, lovely Jack. And thank you for doing all the editing.
Thank you, lovely Annie, for producing all the wonderful information you've provided us with tonight.
And you. And do you know
watching.
what? I'm mesmerised by those fairy lights behind you, Jack Cox, for some reason.
That's how I'm staying with my friends well, not with my friends, I'm house sitting while they're away.
Yeah.
In Glastonbury. So it's a lovely house. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Beautiful. House. But yes, those fairy lights have got my attention for sure.
Well, I hope they're not too distracting.
No, not at all. It didn't stop me from saying what I wanted to say, did it really? But thank you for researching as well and for choosing the topic this week. I think it's very relevant.
I think it was time we got our teeth into something a bit meaty.
Yeah. And synchronistically, Jack Cox, 8 years ago, on the 18th of September, which is only a couple of weeks away, I left an abusive relationship. Yeah, so this really resonated with me, Jack, that that's how I was treated. And so I am very blessed that you suggested this, because one of my friends said, maybe you want to talk about, you know, how to escape safely and stuff like that. And then I said, oh no, Jack's got a better idea. We're looking at the divine feminine, basically. So thank you. That was very synchronistic.
Well, maybe next week or in sometime in the future, we can do abusive relationships and how to survive them.
Yeah.
If you'd like to do that.
Yeah, I would. I wrote a blog about it when, after about 6 months, Victor persuaded me to write it because it's a really liberating story and inspiring as well.
So maybe next week, yeah?
Well, we'll be in Glastonbury, won't we, on Monday and Tuesday, me and Andrew. So
yeah, you will, won't you? Yeah.
Unless we can come and see you on the Monday night and do it from there all together.
You could do, yeah. Or
I don't know, Jack.
Or perhaps I'll put up the Holy Thorn video.
Yeah.
Monday.
That's an
next
idea.
Monday.
Because it's all linked into
as next Monday's show.
Yeah, Jack, that would be a much smarter idea. And then we'll do that the following week.
And the following week, I'll be in Chelmsford.
Chelsea?
Chelmsford.
Oh, Chelmsford, sorry.
Chelmsford.
Chelmsford. I was making up a place of my own then.
Right, let's wrap it up.
Thank you, lovely Jack.
Thank you, lovely Annie. Namaste.
Namaste.